100.3 Phillies R&B DNA here with the Harrises from Oprah Winfrey Network's Love and Marriage Detroit. How we doing, Russell and Colby?
Good.
Hey,
How are
how's it
you?
going?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time. Just wanted to talk really quickly about the show, how you guys got on. What was your favorite part about recording the show?
My favorite part about recording. Oh, a favorite part is hard to pin down, but I will say it was fun, like doing some of the walking scenes where you got to walk and they were capturing you in slow motion, and that was really your time to model and shine.
Okay.
I think that was probably super fun. The repetitiveness of that was a little absurd. They would have to sometimes do it 3 and 4 and 5 times, but in the end, obviously, when you see the finished product of what they're trying to do, it makes sense. But I would say that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I think for me, just being able to showcase and highlight Detroit, right? Just some historical landmarks. We were able to pretty much show some of the key features of the city, which is always fun.
Yes, sir. Now, doing a little bit of history in my homework on your union, you've been married for about 3 years, correct?
4 years now, yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. So I know there have been, ups and downs and peaks and valleys. What do you feel like is unique about your story that for it to be displayed nationally on TV?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we love about our story is that it was rooted in the love of Christ, right?
Amen.
We have a huge um, belief in who God is and how He operates in our lives as individual, but
Mhm.
more importantly, in our lives collectively as a couple. So I think that was one of the more exciting things for us to be able to showcase on TV. And I would also say one thing that makes us unique, us being so young, right, and having a young kid. Right, we had a kid during the pandemic, and if you know anything about pandemic babies, they're just different, right? So our Kendall, she's our love, she's our joy, and we were able to share her as well. So yeah.
I'd piggyback off of everything he said.
I guess some of the challenges, we won't speak on those because those obviously were a part of the show, which we want you all to watch. But in the show, there was some, I guess, hiccups, you would say, in regards to your love for Christ, right? So, Ms. Colby, you grew up in the church, you were a preacher's kid, right? So, understanding where I grew up in the church, I wasn't the preacher's kid, but my mom brought me to church all the time since I was about 9, 10 years old. So, there were times where, I didn't want to go to church. I wanted to be outside with my friends during the sleepover, play the game, all that good stuff. But I still had to
Yep.
wake up at my 8, 9 o'clock, make sure I had my shirt, my tie on to be ready. So in there was a plot twist where Mr. Russell was just signed up for Divinity school, and there was no conversation about that. And then you, having your prior history in the church, feeling how I felt, maybe you wanted to be out with the girls and doing the makeup all night and stuff, and just wake up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and do your thing. You didn't want to go back to that. So talk a little bit about that scenario and how that kind of, you would say, would be a challenge in your marriage.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. So that challenge was more rooted in the fact that Russell knew my struggles with being a PK, right? Like he knew that I lived in a glass box. He knew that, everything I did was being monitored under a microscope. I mean, I'm a grown woman and had been for years, and people were still going back to my parents and saying, hey, I seen Colby out and about here. She was driving and she had some boy in the car. And my dad is like, Colby's grown. Like, she's
Right.
graduated from college. Like, why are y'all reporting out on what she's doing to me? And so, he knew those struggles that I dealt with. And so, For me, it was like, dog, like, you really want to go live this life? And so now I'm really being a glass box as a first lady. Like, Lord, heaven forbid, I'm out to dinner and I have a mocktail and somebody gonna say, oh, I seen the first lady. She was having a drink and she was tipsy with the girl, you know? And so that's like where I was coming from. I'm like, dog, I've lived in a box my whole life. Like, I grew up in a box. Like, even before my dad became a pastor, my grandfather was a bishop. And so, like, I've always been in this glass box. Like, I've always been in the limelight. And, like, finally, for once, as an adult who's married with their own family, I feel like, okay, there are times where people still put me in this glass box, but I'm, like, really grown now. People, like, are starting to be like, okay, well, let me stay out of her life. Let me let her live a little. Let me get away. Let me not, intrude. She's grown. And so, like, now finally I feel free. And so it was like, I kind of started feeling like, dang, I got to go back to this glass box living. And, I didn't fully understand what Russell was trying to do. I didn't understand his objective. Obviously the show tries to narrate it as him going to school to be a pastor. And like, he's trying to take over a ministry. And that, that's not where we are today, right? Like, that's not where we're headed right now. Right now, the focus is for Russell to get his divinity degree and then for him to be a chaplain. And like, whatever the Lord says from there is what the Lord says from there. But like right now, it's like, this is where we are. But while we were filming and while that was like news to me, that wasn't my thinking. That wasn't my mindset. My mindset was like, I'm about to be in this glass box. Like, do you hate me? Why did I do this to myself? So yeah, that's a little bit of context to what that was all about.
I mean, in this day and age, ideals are thrown out the window as far as every couple has their, different gender roles and, what the breadwinner's responsibility is, including the functionality of, how those financial dividends are split. Would you consider your relationship dynamic to be more traditional or more liberal?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I think we err on the liberal side. We don't have gender roles in that. Like, it's more of a team environment where you pitch in where appropriate, where needed, roll up your sleeves, get dirty in the mud together, right? I would say she doesn't like mud. Should I use another one?
Put your gloves on, girl. Roll your sleeves up. All to
You know what I'm saying? Right? But yeah, no, we don't believe in gender roles. Like, there's times where I wash dishes. There's times where she might, I don't know, what's something that a gender role that is normally for men that she would do. She won't cut the grass. I will say that. She's never even rolled my rider.
Take out the trash, like she put it at the door for you that you got to walk into.
She does put it. She put it at the door. Oh man,
you gotta walk into the dumpster though. But she'll get the bags and you put them at the door. Man, that's good. That's good.
Her delivery. So she gets Amazon delivered to her house 2 times a day. And the stack of trash, the stack of boxes at the door when I come in at the end of the day, normally is taller than me. Right? She won't put it in the trash, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, but there are some things that like are non-negotiables that like I just won't do, right? Like, I'm not cutting the grass. I prefer not to go to the gas station, which I seldomly do, unless it's like a crisis or in an emergency type situation. He usually makes sure I have gas. And then like there's things that like I know that Russell's just not gonna do. Like, yes, he'll wash the dishes, yes, he'll sweep, yes, he'll mop occasionally, but Russell's just not gonna clean the bathroom. And like I just know that that's just something he's not gonna do. So like we like he said, like we pick up where each other leaves off. And like if I know he's not gonna clean the bathroom, I'm going to make sure I clean the bathroom. I'm going to ask him to mop the floor, right? And so we like figure out ways to like work together. So definitely more on the liberal side than traditional, for sure.
That's awesome. Beautiful answer. Now, in the newsletter that I got, Mr. Russell declared himself the head of household, correct? So, Mr. Russell, why do you feel as though you are the head of the household? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm the leader of the house, right? I set the vision. I in terms of like just the way that we operate, like I'm the guy that's going to be on my face seeking God in the morning, setting the pace for the day for the family. I make sure at the end of the day We all come together. We have a conversation about our day over dinner. Like just all of the things, like it's my job to make sure I set the template for us to be able to operate with input. I will say this, like I'm not doing this alone. Like I enjoy input from my wife, right? So she adds to that piece as well. But I am the leader. I set the vision for the house.
That's beautiful as a head of the household. There is something that you did do alone, sir, though, and that was sign up for that damn divinity school. In that, though, because she was going crazy. That's what she said. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Was your head of household ego or the whatever the title of it based off of full autonomy to make that decision without her input? Or was it more or less because she had a PK background that you just would assume that she'd be 100% supportive of what your decision was?
Yeah, it's definitely louder. It wasn't an ego situation. I'm not a narcissist by any means, but I assumed that it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like literally, I assume, like I'll tell her when I get to it. It literally was not that big of a deal in my head. So when I told her and she reacted the way she reacted, I was like so off put. I was like, why is this happening right now? You know, and I kind of felt bad. Like, had I known that she would respond the way that she responded, I probably would have said something way earlier. But no, it was more of a, yeah, she's a PK. She's not gonna care. Like, this is good. She's gonna celebrate this like this. She should be. Yes, she should be fine.
Yeah. And I understand that 100% because I think you thought like it would be a good thing, like a great surprise, you know,
Absolutely.
that you were going into that field. And she was like, what?
Yeah, like a pat. I expected like a pat on the back. Go, go husband, you go. Nah. Nah.
So Colby, let's talk about you a little bit. So you are an influencer, right? What field of interest are you an influencer in?
Yeah, so I'm more along the lines of a fashion influencer. I'm
Okay.
trying to weave in more like home and family. But naturally, I just have a fashion sense. It's really like what my passion has always been is fashion and dressing. And so I would consider myself more of a fashion influencer. Like I have a lot of the fashion influencer markets, such as like to Know It, which is where you would house all of the products that you're wearing. I've created a platform there so people can actually shop the things that I buy, and then I earn commission from that. Also like places like Amazon, and so I also have a platform there, and so I'm able to add like what I purchased recently on Amazon, and then people can also shop those links there as well, and I earn commission from that. So I would consider myself fashion more than anything, but with now having a little person and a family, I'm trying to expand into more of like the home element as well as the family element.
A lot of people think being an influencer is just propping the camera up, giving a call to action, and then just receiving a whole bunch of free gifts and services, right? What is something that most people don't understand when it comes to the influencer field?
Wow, that's a good question. A lot of people don't understand the amount of resources it takes, right, to be a decent influencer. Like I have a team. Like I just don't do this by myself, right? Like I have a photographer. So my photographer, I invested in a photographer because I wanted my content to look a certain level of quality every time I post it. And so I feel like brands started to pick up on that. So like I've worked with brands. I have like routine relationships with Dove. I have relationships with a bunch of different big brands, and like they've picked up on, okay, well, we know one thing, Kobe's content is going to always be quality. And so I invested in a photographer. I also have a video girl, so she does all of like my reels and my editing for my content. And then I just invested in a team. So I have a creative director. So whenever I'm doing certain branded content, my creative director, she's responsible for getting like all of the materials that I would need for that creative campaign, so that I don't have to think about it. And then I'm also with an agency. So my agency actually goes out and fishes these deals for me. And so like, it takes a team, and everybody on the team has to be paid. So like, if you're thinking about it, like, to whom much is given, much is required. So like, yes, like I do consider myself an influencer, but I have a team of people that at the end of the day, when I'm negotiating my deals, I have to be considerate of, okay, how do I make sure that I can pay my team and still have enough money to say that this was worth the deal for myself? So there's just a lot that goes into it, and it's just not a matter of propping a camera up and just taking a couple photos. Like, there's a lot of intentionality behind it for sure.
Now, with these influencer invitations that come your way, do you consult these or everyone that you have with Russell?
No,
It's a great question.
no.
It's a great question. How's he doing it?
Now, Mr. Russell, hypothetically speaking, right, if roles were to be reversed, would you be okay with Miss Colby accepting an influencer contract of a brand that wasn't really up your alley? You know, the bikini is too bikini. Like, I don't like the way that's on you right now. Like, what you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I think we have a mutual understanding, right? Of when things are in question, let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, she just goes and does. Like, I don't second guess her character. I don't second guess her intellect when it comes to selecting things that are either build her up or tear her down. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, she has free will, free reign to select whatever she
And don't get
wants.
me wrong, I would never like there, and I think my husband knows that about me. Like, there's just certain things that I just would never accept. Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten offers and deals, you know, that were pretty paid decently, and I've had to sadly decline. Like, even one being, or actually a couple being, alcohol brands. I'm not a drinker. I may have a casual glass of wine every here and now and then, or I may have a cocktail every, you know, special occasion, but I'm not a drinker. So, like, to do a campaign around alcohol and specializing in alcohol, I just can't do that, because I feel like I'm going to be lying to people, because I don't know what the drink tastes like, because I don't drink for real. So I'm lying to you, telling you that this tequila is good, and I ain't even tried it. I put water in mine, you know? And so, like, I hate to influence people in a direction to do or buy something that I'm not even willing to do or try. So there's just certain boundaries there. And also, like, I know that my husband's not comfortable with me just explicitly showing my butt. So, like, am I going to just be out here in a bikini or in a thong modeling for a brand? No. So there's things that, even if, like, there's something that I really want to do, I would talk to him. If I felt like he was uncomfortable with it, I would ask him, like, okay, well, is this something that is a non-negotiable for you? Are you just saying, like, this is off the table, before I just signed a deal to do something that I don't think he'd be comfortable with?
Yeah, and I think, you know, as an influencer, as a leader of souls, right? It's our job to make sure that we're leading people the right way. And I think some things we can use to lead folks to Christ, but there are other things that we can influence that will lead them the opposite direction. So we're very cautious as to how we're influencing people and what we're influencing people to do.
Mr. Russell, we are all in the same boat. As men, we like to be solution-based problem solvers, Mr. Fixer-uppers or Mr. Fix-It. So we always come back with a solution that way, or a plan of action to mitigate the miscommunication. But sometimes we need to just sit back and listen. And then after she's done, ask her, well, what do you want to eat? And then she still don't know. But that's another conversation for another time. I got some quick hitters for you guys, and I'll get you out of here. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Who is your favorite celebrity couple?
Ooh, favorite celebrity. So I'm a Denzel guy. I think he old school lover of one woman, doesn't change who he is. He's just gonna show up as Denzel, wise brother. So yeah, I'm a Denzel Washington.
Yeah, if I would choose two, Denzel for sure, because, like Russell said, like, I'm obsessed with Denzel. Like, he's just, I love him. The man is 70. So I never would ever stand a chance. He's old enough to be my grandfather.
Right.
Too, probably. But yeah, like, I never stand a chance. But Denzel is, like, my favorite actor. I love him so much. And I love how, like Russell said, he's always been with his wife. Like, he's never stepped out. Like, he's had all this fame, all this money, all this action right in front of his face, and he's always been committed to his wife. And she knows that. And so I love and I admire that about them. And for me, I think more new age, new day, I would say Kadeen and DeVal. I just love them. I love their transparency, their realness. Like they talk about a lot of stuff. Like they've talked about the good, bad, and the ugly, and they share it with people. You know, they've been through a lot in 20 years. And so just to kind of hear their perspective, and they're more in that younger millennial generation, but to hear their perspective of like marriage and life and having children and navigating with being with an actor and like, you know, being a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and still finding your passion. Like, I don't know, I just feel like they are just relatable to today's day and age. And so I really admire their relationship and how they've navigated through this many years and have made a successful marriage and building a successful union together.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, who is your favorite TV couple? This could be cartoon or sitcom based or reality TV. Throw yourself in there if you want.
Favorite TV couple? I don't know. I don't watch TV, honestly.
Neither. I just figured.
I would have to take it back old school and
Okay.
say the Cosbys. I love the Cosbys. I know that there's a lot of controversy around that, but I love old Bill, and I am like my favorite actor is Denzel. My favorite actress is Felicia Rashad. I love her. She exudes class, and she's just a beautiful woman inside and out. So I would have to say the Cosbys.
I like the Cosbys as well. I think just to add a little bit of humor here, it's got to be the Jeffersons, right? Weezy and George Jefferson.
Oh my God.
Moving on up.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things I love about George is he's unapologetic, right? George is going to be George regardless of what anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
And Weezy understands that. Times where they disagree, there's times where there's, you know, difference of opinion. There's a lot of things, but George is going to be George, and Weezy is okay with that.
Yes, sir. Now, what life advice would you give to a couple who may be watching this right now who is considering getting married?
That's a good question. So I would start by saying, listen, find a foundation, like find, you know, a common ground, and whether it's your faith, you know, we chose our faith in God, whoever you may believe in, start there and then build, because it will get rocky. Like honeymoon stages only last for so long before adversity comes. And when it comes, it's going to shake you. And if you don't have a strong foundation, that's when people start to separate. So I think having a strong foundation is paramount.
Yeah, if you're looking to get married, I would say truly learn your partner. Learn as much as you can. I feel like Russell learned me from the inside out. He learned my flaws. He learned, you know, what I loved. Like he learned the things that made me me, the things that I was ashamed of, the things that I was embarrassed by. And so like he learned those things. And I feel like in learning those things, he was very careful to not use those things against me or to harm me or to hurt me. And so I think that's really, really important. And I think vice versa. I learned a lot about him too, you know, in his upbringing and how he deals with things, how he deals with pain and conflict and issue. And, you know, I try to be sensitive to those things. And, you know, I know that, you know, grief is not something that is easy for him. And so I'm always really sensitive about that. And so, you know, there's just things that I think you have to like dig deep within yourself and find the interest in like learning that other person. And when you learn that person for real, and y'all are, like he said, on that same playing field, ready to move on to the next phase of life, then I think it'll make it much easier, especially if you're grounded in that firm foundation.
That was beautiful. Russell and Colby Harris from Oprah Winfrey Network's Love and Marriage Detroit. Thank you so much for your time. Where can we find you at on social media, guys?
So I am on all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, as Colby Chantel. The only thing is with TikTok, there's 2 L's. So Colby Chantel with 2 L's is my only off-putting one. It's just TikTok. But other than that, I'm Colby Chantel on all other platforms. So if you could just remember that L for TikTok, then
Yeah. Russell Harris Jr. three L's on Russell L. Harris Jr. On Instagram, and then Russell Harris Jr. on LinkedIn. That's really the only two I use.
All righty. Listen, Harris, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Appreciate Take care.
It's 100.3 Phillies R&B. You out of here.